Hey everyone, have you ever left a restaurant in the US and felt like you owed more than just thank you? Like there's an invisible pressure on your wallet you didn't even see coming? Well, you're not crazy. You're part of what every visitor, every newcomer, and honestly many long-time residents take for granted, tipping. But tipping in America isn't just being polite. It's a full-blown system. And today, I'm going to show you why tipping is a big deal, bigger than you probably imagine. And by the end, you might stop thinking of a tip as optional, or you might hate it a little less. Chapter 1. The history you didn't know. Let's rewind. Tipping didn't start out friendly. It wasn't about rewarding kindness. It stemmed from European aristocratic customs, people giving service people a little extra to show status. Americans hated it at first. It seemed undemocratic. And guess what? That backlash pushed tipping underground. Then, after the Civil War, when hotels and elite establishments tried importing the practice, tipping took root. But here's the twist. It was also used to justify not raising wages. Employers said, hey, the customer will pay extra. A helpful little loophole. And today, that loophole is still open. Chapter 2. The legal tip credit trick. Now here's the part that'll make you raise your iced latte in surprise. In many US states, there's something called a tip credit. It allows employers to pay tipped workers less than the standard minimum wage because tips are legally expected to make up the rest. That means your waitress might earn just a few dollars an hour from her employer. The rest comes from what you leave on the table. Without you tipping, they may legally earn less than minimum wage. Sounds wild, right? It's true, but it's not consistent. Each state has different laws. Some states don't allow tip credit and require the full minimum wage even for tipped workers. Others lean hard on tips. You'll see deeper into that later. Chapter 3. Social pressure versus personal choice. Here's where things get sticky. Because tipping is technically voluntary, nobody's going to handcuff you for leaving 0% tip unless the company has auto-gratuity rules, which we'll talk about later. But socially, the cost of skipping a tip is huge. You risk dirty looks, poor service in the future, awkward conversations when you're traveling with locals, or even your own guilt. That pressure is built into the culture. People expect you to tip, expect you to follow the unwritten rules. You might even face scenarios where your meal is paid by someone else, or your service came by surprise, and yet you're nudged to tip anyway. It's almost like an invisible tax. Chapter 4. The visitor immigrant effect. If you're not born into this tipping culture, things get confusing fast. As a visitor or new immigrant, you might think, why is the tip line already printed on the receipt? Why is everyone filling in 20% even though service was meh? One friend of mine told me, in their home country, service is included. They sat down in New York, minding the tip line, left 10% and then got stared at. Another said, when they asked whether tipping is optional, they were given a hushed everyone does it. That confusion isn't just awkward, it's stressful. And financially, it adds up. If you dine out 3 times a week, that's literally hundreds of dollars a month you didn't budget for. Chapter 5. Who really benefits? Okay, world record mini hook coming up. Everyone says tipping is for service workers. But if you want to be contrarian, tipping often benefits employers more than employees. Here's how. Because of tip credit laws, restaurant owners can reduce their base wage obligations. It shifts labor cost from the company's books onto your willingness to tip. Meanwhile, the worker is stuck hoping for enough customers. Some days they'll earn well, some days they won't. No guaranteed stability. Add to that the fact that managers or restaurant owners may pull tips or enforce policies about how much gets collected, how much goes to kitchen staff versus front of house. Your tip isn't always reaching the person who served you. There's sometimes pooling, sometimes unfair splits, sometimes ambiguity. So you're tipping not just for that kind waiter, but you're propping up a system that shifts risk onto the employee. Chapter 6. When tipping backfires and hidden fees. Let's talk horror stories. Auto-gratuity for large groups. Suggested tip lines printed in bold. Delivery apps that slap tip now on every order. Or the time you dine at a restaurant that folds a mandatory service charge into the bill but still shows you a tip line. Those hidden fees can confuse you. You might be tipping on top of another fee that already covers staff. Sometimes you're forced to tip even if you didn't receive table service. And here's the kicker. During COVID, some places raised menu prices but still insisted on tips, claiming we need help. Meanwhile, the underlying base wage minimum may never have increased, so you end up paying both higher prices and the same tipping expectation. Chapter 7. So, is there a better way? Now we get to hope. Yes, there are alternative models. Some restaurants experiment with no-tip pricing, higher menu prices, fixed service charges, or service included. Others push for legislative change, eliminating tip credit laws, ensuring all workers receive full minimum wage regardless of tipping. We'll show you examples. Places that have tried gratuity included, or service fee built into your bill. Some workers prefer it because it stabilizes income. Some customers dislike it because it feels like being forced to tip. But it's an idea worth watching. Is it perfect? Nope. It has trade-offs, but it might feel less like you're on the hook after your meal and more like you're paying for service up front. Chapter 8. What you can do especially as a visitor or newcomer. Because yes, you can push back politely. You can research when you travel to US states with different tipping norms. You can ask beforehand whether service is included. You can adjust your tip percentage based on quality, rather than blindly following the 20% rule. You can support businesses that have fair wage models or no-tip policies. And you can talk about tipping culture in reviews, with friends, on social media. It doesn't change overnight, but awareness is the first step. Also, if tipping-centered policy bothers you, you can get involved in local advocacy minimum wage campaigns. Ballot initiatives to eliminate tip credit loopholes. So what's the takeaway? Tipping in America is more than custom. It's legal structure. It's a cultural expectation. It's a financial burden. And it's baked into how service workers get paid. But no matter where you're coming from or how long you've lived here, you don't have to treat tipping as just what everyone does. You can ask questions. You can decide what you believe is fair. You can tip based on your standards, not the default. Because whether you're grateful for your server or frustrated by the system, you deserve clarity. And understanding the strange world of tipping is your first step to being treated and paying with intention. If you liked this video, and you value being let in on how America really works behind the scenes, hit subscribe, leave that comment about your weirdest tipping moment, and check out our next video on the hidden costs of living here. And yes, I owe you a tip of thanks for watching. Sarcastically, of course.